Hi, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Bramble Fox, and I'm going to use some items from the January Fox box along with some items from the winter release from the store. So I've got the mini pines. I'm going to use 3 of those. I've got some of the snowflakes and also some of the cool hearts, so it's going to be a nice wintry theme to the layout today. And I'm using Echo Park's Winter Magic collection. So you can see here I've chosen the Freezin season title. I absolutely love the colour of that, like a deep turquoise. And I'm also going to use those 2 penguins, and I think these are super cute. Just when I thought ice skating creatures couldn't get any cuter than the December Fox box, these penguins are just adorable. So I couldn't wait to use those. And I've got a photo of my son recently ice skating, so I thought they would work really well. So I started off, I've cut a circle from the centre of my background cardstock using my silhouette machine, and I'm just drawing some kind of diagonal lines across that, and I want it to kind of look like a mountainside with kind of slopes going up it. And I'm going to have my perspectives kind of climbing the slopes and skating up and down them. It will probably make a bit more sense in a minute when I get going, but I'm just selecting some papers from the 6x6 pad to use. I want to have a little bit of a mix of lighter shades and darker shades. Just flicking through the 12x12s as well, just to see what I've got there. This collection's from 2020, I think, sort of Christmas, winter time. So it's quite old now, and I couldn't remember quite what I had left, so I just had a quick flick through. What I've done is I've numbered each of those sections that I marked with those diagonal lines. I've just numbered them up. I've drawn around the circle on an A4 sheet of card, and now I'm cutting the original circle up and redrawing the lines from it on the A4 sheet, and that's because I'm going to use these bits with the numbers on as templates to draw from my patterned papers. And then I've got that A4 template sort of as a template, if you like, to stick them back on top. That sounds like a load of waffle, I know, but it does make sense in my head. You kind of see what I'm doing here. So I'm drawing around the numbered piece on on patterned paper. The external line, so the outer kind of circle, I'm not too fussed if I cut that slightly bigger. That won't be seen because I'm going to replace that 12x12 aperture back over this. But those internal sections, so the lines I drew, I'm trimming a little bit off of those so that when I've got them all back in place and I've distressed the edges, I've got a little bit of white space showing in between each one, just to give a little bit of separation. So I'm just going to work my way through these. I think you'll see with this one I'm not too fussed about that rounded corner. That's going to be covered, so I don't mind if that kind of goes over the edge of that circle, but I am trimming the internal parts just to get that white space. And I'm using an edge distressing tool just to give those edges a bit of texture, roughing them up. That's something I love to do on my layouts and create a bit of texture, especially with snowy winter layouts, because snow has loads of texture, doesn't it? And this just reminds me of that. So I'm going to do that with all of those internal pieces until I've got them all in place. So I've skipped through most of that for you. We are finally there, just sticking down the last few little bits there, and I've just used double-sided tape to get those stuck in place. I didn't want too much dimension on those because that 12x12 sheet that I cut that circle from initially is going to sit on top of those. And then I've got my photo over to the right. I'm going to have my title underneath that, and then I've got those gorgeous little penguins that are going to be kind of ice skating up the hills. I've also pulled out the 2 Christmas trees from the mini pine set. They are in the same colour as the title, that's why I've chosen those 2. I'm just going to peel the backing off those, and I'm going to kind of make a scene on these circle sections. So I'm going to have the penguins, I'm going to have some trees and snowflakes falling. I'm going to put a little bit of snow on there with some like mini polystyrene glittered balls as well at the end. Just trying to make kind of a snowy landscape with lots of like ski slopes, if you like. My son's not skiing in the photo, he's sitting on a whale ice skating, but you know, skiing and ice skating, same sort of thing for me anyway. I'm not very good at either, but that's my idea. I'm trying to create some ski slopes in the landscape on that circle background there. And just flicking through the Echo Park collection here, I've still got a pair of ice skates, one of the stickers left. So I'm just sticking that to some white cardstock just to make it a bit more rigid. And also because I might move it around a bit. I'm not 100% sure where I'm going to have them yet, but I do want them on my page because my little boy is ice skating in the photo. So I'm definitely going to use them, but we'll probably move them around a little bit before I decide on a final placement. I'm just pulling a few bits in now. Got a couple of bits from the ephemera packs, and I think it was journal ephemera tags it was called. I've got a little pair of tags underneath my photo at the moment. I really wanted to get those on my page, but I just couldn't find a place for them. But I've left them there for now. I've got a couple of snowflake stickers I've just brought in. I'm raising those up on foam pads. And now I'm going to take some time and stitch a silver border around this circle. So I'm using a silver metallic thread by We Are Memory Keepers. That's available at Paper Maze or Amazon or places like that. And I love it for winter layouts, especially with blues. I think silver and blue together is a lovely combination. So I'm just taking the needle that I plan to use to stitch, and I'm poking holes all the way around the edge of that circle. It just means that the holes are the right thickness for that needle, and it's just a bit of a guide to help me keep my stitching sort of straight and even. So I'll skip through the stitching. You really didn't need to see me spend hours doing that. I'm not the fastest stitcher in the world. And now I'm going to add some craft foam to the back of this 12 by 12 sheet all around that circle, just to raise it up a bit, just to introduce a bit of dimension. That's another thing I love on my pages, and it kind of makes that skiscape look a little bit more kind of 3D and dimensional now. So I've just stuck my adhesive foam to the back. I'm going to add some double-sided sticky tape, and then I'm going to get that stuck in place over my pattern paper circle. So that's all in place now, and it's coming together nicely. Hopefully all my waffle at the beginning is making more sense now, and you can see where I was coming from and the design I was trying to achieve. And I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I thought it was going to be a logistical nightmare trying to cut those kind of triangle pieces within the circle, but actually by using that original design as a template, it actually worked really easily. Now I'm getting to work on my photo. I've added some white cardstock behind it, just something I do all the time. I print my photos, I always do 6x4 prints on my home printer, but I print 2 to a page, so I get them 3x4, and in doing so I don't have a white border on them. So I always do add a white border, just because I like the look, also because I find it gives some separation from the background, especially if it's a really busy layout. So I always like to add some white cardstock. And I've also added a darker patterned paper from the collection as well, just a second layer of that, just to bring in a bit of drama and kind of help my photo pop a little bit. The outside edge of my photo is kind of quite a lighter colour because you've got the ice. It just needed something, I felt, to help it pop. So I've added that darker shade of blue as a pattern paper, and then I've just added a couple of tags and a frame from the ephemera pack behind that, just for a bit more interest. And I'm going to raise part of that up on foam just to bring it level to that white background, because remember I've put the foam at the outside edge of that circle, so I needed to make sure my photo sat flat. So I've just added a little bit of foam to half of it. So I love how this is coming together, and I now need to make a decision on where my little embellishments are going to sit. I've decided to have my ice skates over on the left there. The laces of the skates are kind of strung up together in a bow at the top, and it almost curves slightly, and it sat really nicely on the curve of that circle. So I'm going to have those hanging up over on the left there. I've cut out a snow globe, I think from one of the tags from the journaling ephemera pack. And then I'm going to cut out a few of these cute little trees from one of the 12 by 12 papers, just in a variety of shapes and colours. And I'm going to have those on my slopes as well, just to add to my kind of mountainside scene. So I skipped through the fussy cutting for you. That's quite boring to watch. I use my Cutter Bee scissors for my fussy cutting. I love how sharp they are. It just makes it a lot easier. I used to really detest fussy cutting. I used to hate it. And I got these Cutter Bee scissors a while back, and it just made it so much easier. So if you're not a fan of fussy cutting, I do think it's all down to the scissors you're using. These Cutter Bees were a game changer for me. So now I love fussy cutting, and I don't mind cutting little things out. So I've got those trees. I've cut a couple of snow globes as well. And I'm now just getting those stuck in place using some foam pads and tucking them in just behind my patterned papers, just to make them a bit more realistic, and so they don't just look like I've slapped them on top of the layout. Just gives them like a proper place, if you like. I'm just going to add a blue eyelet through the top of my ice skates, just for another texture, and because I got a crocodile last month or a few weeks ago, and I can't stop using it. I'm quite addicted to it at the moment. I'm sure I'll get over it eventually, but I think I've used it on every layout since I got it. So I couldn't resist again, so I've added a blue eyelet to the top of my ice skates. I'm now looking for some blue embroidery thread just to add to the top of those tags. I don't like to leave tags naked. I like to have something through the hole. So I'm adding a little bit over on the left to those ice skates, and then I'll add some through the tags as well, just to balance that out nicely. So now I'm going to get my title stuck in place before I add much more. Just peeling the protective film off the back. If you are new to Bramble Fox products, your perspectives will usually have a protective film over the front or the back. Sometimes just the back. If they are perspectives that have etched details, then they will definitely only have it on the back. But I have noticed that some have it on the front as well, so just check that, because that will sort of dull them down if you forget to take that off. So I've just peeled that off, and I've used my quick dry tacky glue to stick that in place. Normally I would use my glossy accents, but it wasn't on my desk because I'd used it for something with Elf on the Shelf, so I didn't have it to hand. So I'm using quick dry tacky glue today, which holds them just as well. It's just like a strong PVA glue. And I've also added a couple of the lighter blue frosted hearts from the Cool Hearts pack there as well. I'm just adding some little snowballs now to the base of my trees and just underneath my penguins, and I'm using little polystyrene snowballs for this. They've got glitter on them as well, so it's super cute. I can't remember where I got this from. I do know it's a pain if you spill them and drop them though, because they do go absolutely everywhere, and I used them last winter and I'm still finding them on the floor in my craft room where I drop them. So yeah, if you get these, they're really static as well, so just try to keep them in a bag, don't drop them. I'm just adding those under my penguins just for a bit more texture. It now looks like they're kind of skating through some snow, which I thought was quite cute. And I'm going to finish off, as always, with some splatters. I'm using white gesso for this. We've just watered it down a little bit, and this is going to hopefully look like snow on my background. And I do prefer to use gesso as opposed to white acrylic paint for my splatters, just because I find it stays a bit whiter, whereas the acrylic paint can soak into the pattern papers and then you can see the colour of the papers through it. Some people use it and have no problems. I've probably just got a rubbish white acrylic paint, but I just always reach for my gesso. But that is me finished today now. I'll let my splatters dry before I take some photos for you. But thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this layout and it's given you some inspiration. Remember that Freezing season title and the penguins are from the January Fox box, but all the other little items you see on the page are available to buy in the store. So I'll pop some links in the description box for you to the Foxbox sign up page and also to the store so that you can head over and do some shopping if you so wish. But thank you very much for joining me today. Happy New Year to everyone. This is my first layout of the year for Bramble Fox, so I hope you've had a lovely Christmas and enjoyed your new year. I'll be back with more layouts later in the month, but I'll leave you with the close-ups for now, and I shall see you soon.